All right, so as you can see, I've got everything removed. I've got the stuff that I've been working on back here for the seat back rail. Everything is removed. I got the deck plate removed, and I've now got the skin riveted. So I did that because that's the first step, because you can obviously get in here easily with a squeezer. And ultimately, before you rivet your deck plate on, you want to match the curvature of the deck plate with the curvature of the skin. Now there's a chance, if you have the deck plate clecoed and you have the skin only clecoed, the skin may stick out a little bit. And if you match the deck plate to that, when you do come in here and rivet this and it gets pulled tight against the longeron, you may still have a little bit of an overhang on this deck plate. So get your riveting done first before you fit the deck plate. However, now that this riveting is done, before I put the deck plate on, I'm going to rivet the brackets and stuff that go here. So that cover plate, the heavy angle bracket, those things are going to get riveted first, because that riveting takes place right here. And you want to get this riveting done before the deck plate goes on, because the deck plate is going to hinder that quite a bit. So do these rivets here before you put the deck plate on. Now there are some issues with when you have your heavy metal angle in here. There are some interference issues with these three holes, especially this one. This one is right in the corner of the angle. So here's what I've done. On the angle piece itself, on this heavy aluminum angle piece, in these two locations, I notched it a little bit just to give clearance for the rivet shop head. I don't think it's necessary, because I believe I can still get in here with a bucking bar to buck these rivets, but I just relieved the bracket a little bit for these two. Same thing with this one. Now this one is completely buried with the bracket in place, so I've decided to use a CS4-4 pop rivet in this location. So this hole and this dimple have to be modified to accept the CS4-4. And then on the angle bracket, you're going to have to drill or file a notch in that corner deep enough that you can push in the CS4-4 rivet. And those are pretty long, so you're going to have to notch that angle bracket in that corner long enough so you can get the pulled rivet in here. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to modify the bracket for these three locations. I'm going to modify this hole for this rivet. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rivet all of these. And I'll come back when I get that done. So now you can see that I've got the what do I want to call that? The cover here is now riveted to the bulkhead. And again, that's where the crossbar for the seat back rest is going to go. So that's the crossbar for the seat backs, and then that's the cap that comes with the anti-splat seat modification. So that is now riveted in place on this front side here, and you can see that I've got the deck rail back in place. And then of course, as I talked about, the skin has already been riveted. So now with this in place, clecoed, I can come up underneath here with a marker and just run a marker along this edge, and anywhere that the deck plate sticks out beyond the skin, it will leave a mark with the marker. So I'm just going to mark this edge up underneath here, and then I'll take this deck plate back off, and I'll take it over either by hand using a file or using a sander. I'll shave this down to that marker. And then when I put it back, when I bring it over and cleco it back in place, this edge of this deck plate should be even with the side skin. So I'm going to do that next, and then there's some fitting you have to do with this tab. With this tab here. This gets fitted with the piece that goes across here, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but let me get this marked, and then let me get it trimmed and clecoed back in place. Alright, so back at the airplane, I have the forward deck plate, or I don't know if this is considered the forward deck plate, but you can see I've got this deck plate now trimmed, so it's nice and smooth along the skin. And I have it cleaned. Obviously it's clecoed, and I'm getting ready to rivet it in place. However, as I said, there's a piece that goes on here, and I think this might be considered the forward deck plate. It's kind of a triangular shaped piece. It comes in and it fits over top of this end of the deck plate here. And this has to be bent to match the angle of that mating piece. And that mating piece also has two pre-punched holes in it. And you want to, before you rivet this in place, you want to make this bend to mate with that other piece, and you want to at least mark the hole locations on this piece using that other piece as a guide. You don't have to make these full size. These are really small. These are like a number 50 drill bit. But I just wanted to mark this, bend this end to match this piece that's going to go on forward. And I wanted to get these two hole locations marked. It's easier to do obviously on the bench than it is here on the airplane after the fact. So make sure you get the holes drilled, make sure you get this tab bent, make sure that your piece is clean, and make sure this area, the fuselage and longeron are clean, and then go ahead and cleco this down in place, and then go ahead and rivet. However, do not rivet these last three holes here. These three holes, that other gusset type plate that slides in here, it goes underneath these three hole locations. So don't rivet these. Just rivet everything else going forward. So I'm going to do that next, and then I can start fitting this plate and getting all these rivets here knocked out. Alrighty folks, so we are back at the airplane and putting the finishing touches on this bulkhead area here. So everything is now complete. I've gone ahead and machined out this square hole as per the plans, and this is all ready to roll. So everything has been deburred, edge finished, drilled, dimpled, whatever needs to have happen is done, and now it's just a matter of getting the appropriate size, diameter, and appropriate length rivets. And I'm going to go ahead and rivet this together, and then we can fit the cross brace in and cleco it, make sure that it fits and the holes line up correctly, and that will be it. So let me get this riveted, and then I'll come right back to do a quick wrap up. Alright, so here we are with the crossbar in place. The ends of the crossbar, this area here, that's all complete now. Everything is riveted in place permanently. And then I've got these clecos in place. These will ultimately be number 8 screws. My plan is to put nut plates on the crossbar itself and then use number 8 screws. I'm going to use dome head screws. They're going to be Socket head screws, dome-shaped head, stainless steel. Those will be the 4 bolts here on each end. And like I said, I plan on putting nut plates underneath the bar itself. So at this point, this is as far as I'm going to go with this, because I want to get some other things done. And next up is going to be fitting the latch mechanisms, but that's going to be a very serious mod, because the stock mechanism, it attaches in here and it comes up through the hole here and grabs a hold of the canopy, and there's a bar, a pivot bar if you will, that runs across to the other side, so that your canopy latch mechanism runs across here, and then it actuates this lever, and that bar of course translates all the way across to actuate this lever. But now that you've got this cross beam moved back, the latch bar that comes through here is now in the way. The seats can't come back because it hits that rod before they rest up against this. So I'm not going to work on any of that quite yet. I'm going to work on some other things. I'll come back to this at some point, of course, and put the nut plates on it underneath here, and take care of these holes, finish off these holes, deburr a little bit, and then put the retaining strips that go on here that capture the back of the back seat, so to speak. I'll come back to all that later. I just wanted to show you that this is kind of sort of how it's going to look when complete, and I'm going to move on to other things. All right. Sorry for the choppy, convoluted videos, but it's the best I can do with what I have. So, moving on.